Hi and welcome to the Money Move studio. Today we're chatting about property in Cape Town. So I've been living my best life in Cape Town. I've been walking on the promenade, I've been going to the V&A waterfront, and I promise you that I'm hearing more European accents than South African accents. However, if I do hear South African accents, I hear the following statements. I really need to get into the property game in Cape Town. People are printing money with Airbnb. We have to start playing that game. So today we're covering that, and thank goodness Paul is alongside me to give me some insights. If you do like the content, please like and subscribe. A little love goes a long way. So Paul, everyone is raving about property in Cape Town. Are the prices going up? Is it a good time to jump into the market? And if I do decide to go into the property market, is Airbnb the best option for me to kind of get a return on my investment?
Hi Ingrid, what I love about Cape Town is of course the coffee, and I drink it black, no milk, no sugar. Is Airbnb a great idea? It's a loaded question. There's so many ifs and buts, but today I will take you through them. And also today it's going to be practical, braai vleis chats, all right? We're not going to do many calculations in an Excel spreadsheet with projections. It's going to be easygoing, right? What we will discuss is firstly, is it going higher? Because it's already quite high, the property prices. Number two, Airbnb. It changed the game. Is it worth the hype? And number three, what to look out for, the risks, the orange flags. So firstly, is it going higher? Now, let me just paint a picture here. So Ingrid, recently, you and I went to Europe. We had a good old time. And what we saw was very interesting in property. If you have 3 million rand, what that buys you in Europe is basically a bathroom. Like here's a toilet, congratulations, 3 million rand. In South Africa, in the Western Cape, if you have 3 million rand, if it's on the Atlantic seaboard, that buys you a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in Mooley Point or Sea Point. If it's in a more suburban area like Durbanville or Somerset West, that buys you a townhouse. And it's an incredible area by the sea, beautiful coffee shops, the mountains. So property in South Africa, especially the Western Cape, is exceptional if you put it on a global scale. Who's buying the properties at the moment? The locals, of course, but the locals are getting priced out slowly but surely because it is getting really expensive. Then the Johannesburgers, and of course everyone outside the Western Cape, that's Joburg. The Joburgers are coming here, they're working here, they're coming to retire here, and they have money, so they spend it on Cape Town properties. And thirdly, and this is the real kicker, is the Europeans. Because they know 3 million rand there is the toilet, 3 million rand here is the townhouse in Durbanville. That is a massive, massive difference in lifestyle. So they are buying, for them, it's cheap as chips. So all in all, there's only so much supply in these areas, and the demand is massive, and the demand will probably keep on going. So in other words, yes, I think it's high, but it will probably go even higher over time.
Let's segue then into the Airbnb question. A lot of people are wondering whether Airbnb is a game that they should play. So how does Airbnb compare to your more traditional long-term rentals?
Ingrid, so this is a question I get literally on a daily basis. Airbnb, it sounds amazing. Must I get into the game? So I said no math, no numbers, but just entertain me, the basic. We're going to boer som, okay? So if you own a 3 million rand apartment or townhouse, depending where you buy, the average rent is roughly 20,000 rand a month. So you own the place, the tenant pays you 20k a month. That equates to about 240,000 rand for the year. Okay, so that's the baseline. Now let's do Airbnb. So we have to make a few assumptions here, but Airbnb at the moment, I went online. The Greenpoint 1-bedroom apartments are going for like 2,500, 3,000 rand a day over a 7-day period. That is insane. So let's assume that you rent out your place between November and Feb. So that's the hot months, that's the summer months in Cape Town. November, December, January, and February. And you are charging 2,500 rand a day. I think it's probably higher, but let's just go base case here. So how much does that make you? So 2,500 rand a day for 4 months or 120 days, that equates 300,000 rand for the year. Okay, we also assume some vacancy. Maybe you're not going to rent out every single night. And also you might not get 2,500. Let's say you only get to 2 or 1,000. So assuming these minuses, it's 300,000 Rand, minus provision for vacancy, minus provision for not maybe getting 2,500, that will also bring you to roughly 240,000 Rand. So the traditional model is 240,000 Rand for the year. The Airbnb model for only the hot months, the in-season months, November, December, Jan, Feb, also gets you to 240. And of course, now you have 8 months to play with. You can either live there yourself, you can do like a medium-term rent, 6 to 8 months. You can still do Airbnb, but it's just outside of season, so it will be much lower prices, but still you can do that. So in summary, assuming that nothing goes wrong and we play the normal Airbnb game in season, maybe lower prices outside of season, the ROI is insane. The math is mathing. You can really make a lot of money with Airbnb in Cape Town.
Okay, Paul, you're just making such a good case to get into the property game in Cape Town. But just before I ask you to get a contract so that I can sign and buy a property, you did at the start of this episode mention that there are a few orange cautionary flags. What are those?
Right, Ingrid, yes. So let's just sober up for a moment. It sounds almost too good to be true, but it's not cookie cutter, buy the place, put people in, make a lot of money. It's not like that. So here are a few things to consider. All right. Firstly, it is currently a seller's market. And what that means is that the prices are way above the average, right? It doesn't mean it can't go up even more. Like I discussed, it probably will go up even more, but in any investment, you want to buy the Bitcoin or the gold or the stock or the property before it went up 300%. You don't want to invest after it already went up 300%. So that's a seller's market. Secondly, people, you know this classic saying where, why should I pay off someone else's bond? Why can't I just buy the place and pay off my own bond? Well, yes, okay, that is true, but just remember, if you have a 3 million Rand, if you live in a 3 million Rand apartment, your rent is, like I said, likely 20,000 Rand a month. If you own the property and you have a bond on the property, it's likely to be closer to 30,000 Rand a month. So the bond is much more expensive than the rent. So just keep that in mind. Then thirdly, there are also additional costs that you need to take into account. The maintenance cost, the rates, taxes, the levies. If something breaks, you don't call the owner, you are the owner. So you call Mr. Electrician, Mr. Plumber, 9 o'clock just after dinner because there's some other, the plugs aren't working anymore. So you are the responsible party. Then the big risk is the risk of vacancy or tenants not paying. So vacancy, there will be months that you don't get tenants, or in Airbnb's case, where there will be days or weeks that you just don't get tenants. Also, the very unfortunate but very real case is that sometimes you do have tenants and they either mess up your place or they refuse to pay. And I know this, I have real experience of this. It's that see you in court kind of thing. And unfortunately, the regulation in South Africa is on the side of the tenant, not on the side of the owner. And lastly, Airbnb is not a passive investment. It's active, you are actively participating, managing clients, managing the guest communication. It's your own energy and time that you have to put in, or you can pay someone, but that of course will decrease your profits.
Paul, enough about the facts. I want to hear your opinion. What is your stance on this situation?
So Ingrid, I like property. I do own property, and I love this idea of building this massive property portfolio over time. You know, when I'm 60, I have like 60 properties or something like that. Also, it's a tangible investment. It's easy to understand. It's 4 walls and a roof, and you put people in there. And also, of course, you can use leverage. I don't have 3 million Rand in my bank account, but the bank has 3 million Rand that I can just borrow from them and pay it off over time, which is of course an amazing benefit. But to be honest, I think in Cape Town, the Atlantic seaboard, the prices are a little bit insane. I think people are very, very excited, and there's no bargains here. Remember, if I buy a stock or a property or whatever I buy, I'm always looking to pay less for it than the actual value. I'm not chasing the market. I don't never want to chase the market, and I feel like people in Cape Town are chasing the market. I much prefer areas such as a Durbanville or a Somerset West. The 2-bedroom apartments or the townhouses, 2 million Rand, I feel much safer there. I don't take that much risk because the property values are lower. That's your more suburban areas. Potential for growth is a little bit higher because the prices aren't insane yet. So I like those areas, and that's where I'm personally putting my money.
Paul, thank you so much for your insights. Viewers, if you want to reach out to us, please follow the link in the description below. We'd love to chat. See you next time.